Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome back to Guys That Magic. This is Hunter,
This is Dave.
and we have officially started spoiler season of Modern Horizons 2. Today is May 24th, 2021, and we've got some cards we want to talk about. Not going to be talking about all of them. If you want to see all the commons, the uncommons, stuff like that, go follow us on Instagram. That's instagram.com/guysthatmagic. Pretty simple. So we're just going to be talking about the rares and the mythics. So first things first, let's start off with Fang Squirrel General. That is 1 green, 2 generic mana for a 3/3. It's got Forest Walk, which means this creature can't be blocked as long as defending player controls a forest. Also says if one or more tokens would be created under your control, those tokens plus that many 1/1 green squirrel creature tokens are created instead. Also, if you pay 1 black, you can sacrifice X squirrels, and you could have target creature get plus X minus X until end of turn. This is a legendary creature. It's a squirrel warrior, and it's also the box art of the set boosters. What do you think about the General Squirrel?
So a couple of things. The first one here is I like the effect. It's cool. It's parallel lives strapped to a creature. So might as well play this in like a parallel lives deck or go with doubling season because that also cares about tokens. I don't really get the squirrel thing. I think squirrels is like kind of cool whenever it comes to the unsets. I don't understand the point of these being in Modern Horizons. I don't think that this card is going to be good in Modern. I don't see a home for it. I know that people are going to go out there and they're going to build a Squirrel Tribal EDH deck. I would probably be that asshole who goes out there and uses this as a commander for a Warrior Tribal deck, just to try and like throw people off. But I don't know. I don't really care too much about the squirrels. I'm not a fan.
I mean, we'll go in depth of this card. This is legendary, so it is technically can be a commander. We'll go into it when we get to our commander videos. So I just wanted to kind of touch on some more squirrel cards that they announced as well. Very furry themed, as you'd say. Squirrel Sovereign, Ravenous Squirrel, Squirrel Sanctuary, Squirrel Mob. It's a squirrel theme for Modern Horizons 2, apparently. Ravenous Squirrel, in its artwork, actually has an arm in its little nest inside the tree there.
Bringing up a snake too.
And a snake. It's taking a snake in too. But yeah, just more cards that deal with Squirrel Tribal. The one rare of it is Squirrel Mob, which is 2 green and a generic for a 2/2. Squirrel Mob gets +1/+1 for each other squirrel.
Yep, reminds me of like Relentless Rats, but not as good. I don't know. Squirrels just in general, they're cute. I mean, if this is gonna be like a limited archetype, I mean, that's fun. I don't care about any of these.
People were definitely expecting Squirrel Tribal to be a thing just based on the artwork of the set boosters when it was first announced, which is why Liege of the Hollows, as well as Deranged Hermit, also 2 cards that deal with squirrels. They jumped in price right when the set boosters were announced. They actually jumped both up to $100, which is nuts.
Damn.
Yeah, they were, I think, 70 before the announcement, and it jumped all the way to 100.
Dude, neither one of them are even that good. Well, one of them's sitting at like 20. So Liege of Hollows, I'm checking right now, is it sitting at like 20, but Deranged Hermit is chilling at about $100. Don't pay that, please.
Hey, man. People want squirrels, okay?
I would love it if that gets a reprint in this set. Well, dumbass people going out there spending $100 on a squirrel card.
That would be something else. So moving on, we got this card, Sarah's Emissary. It was spoiled in another language, but we're here to translate it for you. It's 3 white mana, 4 generic mana for a 7/7 flying angel. As it enters the battlefield, choose a card type. You and creatures you control have protection from the chosen card type. It's very interesting. It's kind of weird.
I hate it.
You hate it.
Yeah. I got really excited because I thought this could do other things, and then I discovered that it can't. I thought that this would work around some of like the you lose the game cards, but I kind of very quickly realized that those don't target, so you're still gonna die.
Yeah, I mean, you're definitely gonna have to find a way to cheat this in. You're never gonna pay 7 mana, especially 3 white with just 7 mana in general. You're never gonna play 7 mana.
Oh no.
Cheat it in. You get a control protection from a chosen card type. I feel like it's kind of an interesting idea, but
It'd be cool if,
but
I
yeah,
mean, it only had itself gain protection from a card type and like it didn't cost 7 mana. As it is though, you're never going to cast this thing for its casting cost, at least not in modern. In Commander, go ahead and knock yourself out for it. It's a big dumb beater. It's a big angel. People like Angel Tribal. They might play it in there. I don't know. This goes in like your Kali of the Vast deck. Um, uh, is big and dumb. Doesn't do the
it's
things that I really wanted it to do. So I hate it.
big and dumb. You're right. Moving on to another card that was spoiled in another language. This is a new sword. It is actually the Sword of Hearth and Home. And what it is, it's 3 generic mana. Equipped creature gets +2/+2 and has protection from green and from white. Whenever the equipped creature deals combat damage to a player, exile up to 1 target creature you own and search your library for a basic land card. Put both those cards on the battlefield under your control, then shuffle. I think it's a pretty interesting sword. They're definitely sounding like they're going to finish the sword cycle in Modern Horizons 2. So this one is
Feel
this one's I think this is good.
I don't.
Why not?
I disagree there. So I mean, I look at it like this: is this will be what our 8th sword of blank and blank. And I think really only 2 of them see play, Sword of Feast and Famine, and then the Sword of Fire and Ice are the only 2 really that see play. And I don't think that this is all that great. I mean, it's really cool that you get to blink one of your things. Um, and I guess you get to ramp, but I mean, you're grabbing a basic land, so it does have that stipulation on the card. I don't know. I don't think these kinds of cards are really all that great. If you are playing this in like EDH, if you're playing it for a Voltron-based commander that actually does care about lands entering the battlefield, then that's great. That's fine. You found like the little niche where this card actually does fit in. But for modern, I think this is way too slow, and there's just better things that you can be doing. Honestly, even if for commander, if you're playing a equipment-based deck, I still think that there's better things that you can be doing.
I mean, I think the blink thing is really cool. Just trigger something that does the enter battlefield ability that's really powerful. Essentially, let's say you can definitely ramp hardcore with this card if you really need it. If you have a creature enter that goes and grabs you a land, you go and get 2 lands.
I mean, that's also on this thing attacking too, though. Because, I mean, you have to have it equipped and attacking. So you're probably not going to be dropping a creature and this and equipping all in the same turn. That's a lot of mana.
However, it doesn't say the equipped creature can blink. You can blink any creature.
I don't know. You can blink any creature. I was just saying that like this has to actually be equipped to a creature swinging in order for its ability to activate.
True. Yeah, you have to. It has to be able to do combat damage. Well, I think it's. I'm interested to see what the other cycle of the swords are. I'm sure we'll get the rest, the other 2, in Modern Horizons 2 if they don't tease us.
They're totally just going to give us this one.
It's just 1. They're like, all right, maybe the 2 will come in Modern Horizons 3. So moving on, we got Rise and Shine. This is a 1 blue, 1 generic sorcery. It says target non-creature artifact you control becomes a 0/0 artifact creature. Put 4 +1/+1 counters on each artifact that became a creature this way. It also has Overload, which is 2 blue, 4 generic. You may cast this spell for its Overload cost. If you do, change its text by replacing all instances of target with each. What are your thoughts there on good old Rise and Shine?
Well, first off, I really wish it said Overlord instead of Overload because that would be dope. This is almost in Soul Artifact. So I mean, I guess it could potentially go in there as like your 5th copy or your 6th copy of it if you want that many. There are a couple of things that I don't really care much for this card though. Um, So one of the things about this is that this actually has to hit a non-creature artifact. So you can't just drop an Ornithopter and then throw this thing down on it. Um, the other thing that I have to kind of go over with this is that it does actually make it a weaker creature than what Ensoul Artifact does. Ensoul Artifact is an aura, so I mean you can potentially get 2-for-1 if they do end up killing the artifact that you animated. Um, whereas this doesn't, I guess. No, I mean it still does because nobody's ever going to just destroy target aura or enchantment. They're just going to kill the creature. Um, it has more upside in that you can overlord this for 4 and 2 blue. You're probably never going to do that because those kinds of decks, they kind of want to just splooge out early on and then use these cheap little pump effects to beat their opponent to death as fast as possible. I don't see you ever getting to 6, at least not in Modern. In EDH, this is a hell of a win condition because now your mana rocks become these absolutely devastating creatures later on in the game. If you do have several of them in play, I mean, this could easily be like a surprise 14, 16, I don't know, 20 damage that you could potentially end up swinging in with. So that's cool.
Yeah, I
So
was thinking
far,
you can throw it on food tokens. You could throw it on treasure tokens. It'd be pretty interesting just to be like, oh, by the way, all these foods that I've been stacking up, now they're 4/4s.
yeah. I mean, I see the potential for this card. I find it funny that we're talking about Modern Horizons and like every single card we've talked about so far today, I immediately dismiss for Modern because I just don't really see it. The Rise and Shine's first ability, I mean, being able to hit that single non-creature artifact is cool if the Ensoul artifact decks want these in there. I don't know if they want to be playing with more than 4. I don't know. They might. This could be a great inclusion that hopefully helps that deck out. But I mean, the deck is already super fringe as is.
Yeah. All right, well, moving on. We had another artifact that was spoiled today, and that's a Void Mirror. Void Mirror is 2 generic mana, and all it says is whenever a player casts a spell, if no colored mana was spent to cast it, counter that spell. It absolutely destroys anything that people are trying to play for free.
I mean, yeah, it stops free. It stops colorless things if they actually spent colorless mana on it, but I don't know the application for this. Okay, so like you play this against Eldrazi because it ruins their day,
Yes, it does.
and you do what else? Because like the other big artifact deck that at least the other big artifact deck that comes to mind for modern is like Hardened Scales, and they run a ton of green, so this doesn't do anything to them. If I think about the implications of this in something like Commander, I mean, you're shutting off or potentially shutting off your mana rocks because you're not going to be able to cast them. It says whenever a player, not an opponent. And that's also assuming that once again you're using that colorless mana. I mean, you're most likely, I'm going to say 95% of the time, you are going to have a land that taps for some color, and then
Yeah.
this just does nothing.
I mean, I think it's a sideboard card if you're playing up against a deck that's trying to cast stuff for free.
I mean, okay, so this makes me feel like Shardless Agent or some other form of Cascade has to be in this set because I feel like we got the tutor, the profane tutor, which wants to be cast for free. This cares about those casting for free or the not spending colored mana on things. So I feel like we have to start getting some of those, right? Not just like the reduction that we've seen so far, but like actual like, hey, there is a way to cheat these things into play without paying mana for it.
Yeah. There definitely seems to be leaning that way. So, I mean, we'll see what the other spoiler is going to be. Moving on, we have a new Fractured Sanity. That is 3 blue. It's a sorcery. All it says is each opponent mills 14 cards. It also has cycling, which is 1 in a blue. And if you cycle it, each opponent mills 4 cards. What are your thoughts on this big miller?
Triple blue is really hard. for most decks. Mill is bad, and even if you cycle this, I think that cycling is like the best part of this card. It's not really doing a whole lot. Sure, it mills 4 cards, and I mean, it says each opponent, so it scales well if you're playing multiplayer. But this isn't really what I want to be doing. It's not what I want to be spending mana on. You're not killing your opponent if you are milling 14 cards. You're really not even actively working towards that. And heaven forbid you happen to be playing up against a deck that actually wants to be milled. Anything that has any kind of recursion, anything that has any kind of either like self mill in it or anything like that. I mean, you're fueling the fire. Mill is not good. This card is not good.
Hey, don't hate on the mill players. The mill players know what they're doing sometimes. I've died to my fair share of mill decks. Granted, I don't run recursion, and if you do run recursion, then yeah, I completely agree with you. This card is terrible against recursion. But milling 14 cards, that's a lot of cards.
I tell you what, you pick this up, you go down, you play at the LGS, and you go actually play Sealed, because Sealed is a thing this time around for Modern Horizons, and you get lucky enough to pull 1, maybe 2 of these, and you absolutely slam it, dude, and you go with mono blue mill, or you go with blue and maybe a splash of something else for mill, because I mean, in a limited environment, whenever your opponent only has 14 cards in the deck, ooh, milling 14 hurts, and you can very quickly mill them out, especially if you can happen, or especially if you get 2 of these things
Mill 28 cards.
outside of that very specific scenario. Never play this card.
Yeah, can you imagine if you got this as your like pre-release card, and then you open one up, and you're like, oh, by the way, you're milling 28 cards. I
Yeah,
think you might win the entire pre-release.
I mean that's also assuming that your opponent sat back and let you do this to them twice, and then
I
also
mean,
still didn't do anything, because that doesn't even get rid of the whole deck.
yeah. It's still 28 though. It would be fun just to see their face. Moving on. We have a reprint that has been upshifted to rare. This is Wonder. It is a 1 blue, 3 generic, 2/2. Flying. As long as Wonder is in your graveyard and you control an island, creatures you control have flying.
This is how you do grief. This is the templating that I whined and complained about the other day.
What do you mean?
So whenever Grief, another card from this set, was showcased, whenever it was spoiled, I whined and complained that it was a creature based off of an emotion. It's an incarnation. It has an ability that's stapled onto it, and every other card that's like this, whether it be Wonder or Genesis or Hatred or any of those other ones, it cares about you having a basic land type of that corresponding color, and it cares about it being in the graveyard. And Grief does not do that. That was my aesthetic reason as why it is that I ranted about that card. Wonder is a reprint. Wonder is really not good. It's rather slow. It doesn't actually do really a whole lot. I mean, it's cool that your creatures have flying, but I mean, if your opponent's playing, I don't know, any kind of form of interactive magic whatsoever, they should probably be running something that'll exile your graveyard, and then all of a sudden this doesn't do anything anymore. And aside from that, it's a 2/2 for 4 mana that is flying, but that's not good.
Do you think this means that they're going to reprint Anger?
I don't I don't know. I think the Anger is probably the best out of all of those, because having your creature drop with haste is, I think, the most impactful out of any of those. I don't know if they need to reprint Anger though. I mean, how expensive is Anger as a card? Is it creeping up in price?
I I don't know the answer to that. But I mean, I was just thinking just from a standpoint of this card makes people flyers when it's in the graveyard. Anger might be able to be Anger's only $3.
Yeah, I mean, Anger's been reprinted a couple of times. It's just it's part of that like design, and that's why I was complaining at Grief, is because Grief, on first glance, it looked like it would mirror this design, and it doesn't. It goes in a very different direction altogether.
Yeah. I mean, technically Anger is not legal in Modern. So we
I don't think it would.
could get you
I don't
don't
think it
think?
would do anything, even if it was.
I mean, I guess we'll see. Maybe they'll print it. It seems like a cycle. Speaking of reprints, they announced that they are reprinting from Modern Horizons 1 just a couple of cards here. We got Sword of Truth and Justice and Hall of Heliod's Generosity. That those are just some reprints from Modern Horizons 1, only available exclusively in collector boosters.
Sword of Truth and Justice is a $21 card. All of the swords hold some kind of value, even the bad ones like this one. Hall of Heliod's Generosity is a $6 card, at least at the time of this recording. I think that one might be a little bit better because it does give you the recursion if you are playing with any kind of enchantment deck. You're probably running white, and if you are, you might as well be running this card anyways. I'm not super stoked on either of these cards, though. I don't really care, and nor do I think that nor do I think that either of these are going to be impactful in Modern, because, well, they haven't been.
Yeah, I think it's just it's this whole collector booster only thing is very strange. Not strange, but interesting in the way of, is it needed? Like, are these, because they're going to be only in collectors and only foil, is this driving the price down of the old cards? Or are these new reprints going to be more expensive than the old ones?
I think the new reprints are going to be more expensive. I don't actually think it's going to have a price reduction, especially given the rarity that I am assuming that many of these are going to be coming in at. I don't think that this is going to have a positive impact, really, at all.
Yeah.
That's just me being a pessimist, though. So
Yeah, dude, I completely agree with you though. It's kind of fucked. It's like, hey, we're gonna reprint some cards, but guess what? They're more expensive than the ones that you can already get.
yep. I mean, if you're
Well,
into it, if you want to go out there and bling it all out, go for it. But like, it's not my thing. It's not the way that I like to play Magic.
based on the prices of collector booster boxes right now, I don't see myself buying one unless they drastically change. But until then, that's the spoilers of today. Hope you guys enjoyed. Again, if you want to see the full spoilers from today, follow us on Instagram at Guys That Magic, all one word. We are posting every single spoiler that has been announced so far, and we will continue to do through the entire spoiler season. We will see you all tomorrow for the rares and mythics and stuff like that they announce for tomorrow. Until then, this is Guys That Magic. Have a great day.
Later.